Okay, so you've got your formulas, right? You've got a formula, you've got frequency is equal to 1 over big T, and then you have your wave speed is equal to your wavelength over your frequency. That's bad. Um, I would like you can do like your wavelength over your sorry. So your I was like, wait a second, the formula for frequency, that doesn't make any sense. It's going to be your wavelength times your frequency, and we'll get to this in a second. We'll see why the units don't work. And or you could do like wavelength over t, your period. Okay. So your frequency, the units for frequency are 1 over s. And then we call this, nobody likes fractions. So we actually came up with something and we call this hertz. So if you have something that has a frequency of like 30 hertz, that's what that is. That's a frequency. And sometimes they'll just say 30 hertz wave, and you're supposed to know that hertz is your frequency. They might not say the frequency is 30 hertz. So it's important that you know the units, because then in your short answer problems, you can kind of pick out what you need. Wavelength is a distance, right? Length. So standard, we see the wavelength in meters, but sometimes you might see centimeters or something like that, maybe millimeters, but it's a distance. Um, your amplitude is also a distance, right? Your amplitude, let's see. Let's go back here. Okay. Your amplitude is the distance from your rest to your trough, or the distance from the rest to the crest. Okay, that is your amplitude. And so again, your amplitude is a distance. So it's going to be in meters usually. I think I saw a picture on your test that had it in centimeters, but it's going to be a distance like wavelength. Your wave speed. Speed, if you guys remember from Physics A, the standard unit for speed is meters per second. But I've also seen for like small waves, I've seen centimeters per second, that kind of thing. Okay, so you can see if our unit for wave speed is meters per second, B is going to be m over s. Then we're going to have to, we can't put frequency on the bottom, right? Because the s is on the bottom, which would then make it meters times seconds, which doesn't make any sense. And then our units for period are seconds. So period is a time. Okay, that's why it's got a big T. You can think of period as time. Okay, so that's why wavelength, which is a distance, over time, a period, seconds, right? That would give you meters per second, which are your units, right, for wave speed. So that's kind of how you can get those formulas. So if you know the units, it also is a way to kind of get the formulas. But remember, there is a formula sheet and you guys are allowed to use it on your test. So, go for it. It's not like you get extra points for, being an extra cool physics student and not using your formula sheet. It does not matter. You don't get extra points. So now this is also a picture. I think, I don't remember if it's from a quiz or a test. It might be both. But anyway, they ask you the wavelength, the amplitude, and the period. So like, let's just do wavelength first. So if we want to go from, you see this front part right here, where we're heading up to the crest, to this front part where we're heading up to the crest, that's going to be your wavelength. So this is like what? 1.5, 4.5, what's that, 3? So this is like 1.5 in here. So our wavelength is 4.5 plus, I'm trying to figure out what this distance is. If this whole thing is 3, then this would be 1.5. So then our wavelength is going to be 6. And what are our units here? Sorry, we're doing wavelength centimeters. So our wavelength is going to be 6 centimeters. Okay, it's really important you put the units. Okay, if you don't, you lose points on a short answer. If this was a short answer and you just put 6, you would lose points, right? Because I need to know that you know the correct units. Then they say, I'm going to get to the frequency. I want to do these first. And then they get the amplitude. So the amplitude is right from your rest to your crest, or from your rest to your trough. Okay, so your amplitude is 4. Now look, the units here are different, right? 4 millimeters. Okay, so these two are different. Now, what is the frequency if V is 15 centimeters per second? So, right, we have this formula, V equals wavelength times frequency. And we found the wavelength, and here's our frequency, so or our V, so we can find F. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put it in the triangle. This is why I wanted to solve for wavelength first, by the way. And so my V is going to equal wavelength times frequency. Okay, and what do I want to solve for? I want to solve for frequency. So my frequency is then going to be V over wavelength. Okay, so then I'm going to do 15 over 6. Now, do you see how I have centimeters here? And I have centimeters here. That means that I don't have to do any conversions or anything like that. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in my calculator. I'm going to use the calculator on my phone so I don't have to bring it up on the computer. Let's see. 2.5. I think I'd be able to figure that out. Again, you don't get extra special physics points for not using a calculator. So, feel free to use a calculator on your test. So it's 2.5 hertz. Okay, so that's our frequency. I'm using this little like tablet pen, and I think it has a delay. And then the period, right? Our period is F equals 1 over T. Okay, so if I want to find T, again, I can put that in the triangle. You don't need to do any more work than you have to, so, don't bother doing algebra if you don't have to. I'm just going to make a 1 like that, and then a T, and I want to find T. So I'm going to do T is equal to 1 over F. So I just found out my frequency was 2.5, so I'm going to do 1 divided by 2.5. And I'm probably going to get a small number. I'm going to continue it down here. Math teachers would probably kill me for making all this mess. But I've seen your papers and you guys do the same thing. Okay, 0.4. And our units for that is seconds. Okay, so our period is 0.4 seconds. Now your test might not ask you to do all of these things from this image, but I wanted to go ahead and show you that way. Sometimes the questions, they'll have the same image, but they'll ask you different things, and so I just want to make sure you knew how to do anything they could ask you from this picture. Okay, so here's the next one. So if we want to solve for period, we have 12 waves, 12 waves passing a point in 48 seconds. So we have 12 waves per 48 seconds. Okay, so this is actually a frequency, this thing that they've given us. Okay, so we could even, I'm going to condense it a little bit. So I'm going to do 12 divided by 48, and I'm going to get 0.25 hertz. Okay, so then if I want to solve for period, remember our formula for frequency is 1 divided by t. So then I can put that in my triangle. F is 1 divided by t. I'm looking for period. Now, not every problem is going to say solve for period, but the reason I wrote them like this, like it won't say this at the front. The reason I wrote this is because I want to make sure I gave you guys an example of each kind. So that's why I did that. Okay, now it's coming back. It was lagged. Okay. So I'm going to do 1 divided by f. I'm going to do 1 divided by 0.25. And I should get a like a whole number, because anytime you divide by a decimal, you usually get a bigger number. So let's see. 1 divided by 0.25. I'm going to get 4. I should have known that. 4 seconds. Okay, so that's the period. So if this was a multiple choice, I would choose 4 seconds. If this was short answer, I would show all of this, okay, because you get 1 point for showing your work and 1 point for the answer. So just writing 4 seconds gets you 1 out of 2 points, right? So if you want full credit on your short answer, show all of this stuff, okay? Let's go to the next one. Okay, this one is going to be a solve for wave speed one. So we have a wave with a wavelength of 5 meters and a period of 20 seconds. And this says, what is the speed? Okay, so we know our speed is going to be in meters per second. So sometimes I'll go ahead and like write this part. That way I don't forget to write my units later. Okay, so our formula is wavelength over our period. Okay, and since we've already got the formula in the correct, the way we want it, we can just do 5 divided by 20. And I know that this is something that I should probably know, but I'm going to go ahead and do it in my calculator because, again, you know, you don't get like an extra special sticker if you don't use your calculator. Okay, 25. Yeah, see, that's something that I should know. Again, if this was short answer, all of this stuff would be worth 1 point, and this would be worth 1 point. Okay. And that's your answer with your unit. If you lost units, you'd lose half a point. Okay. Because it's important that you know the units. Okay, so let's try another problem. Okay, so this one we're going to solve for frequency. So it's telling us that our wavelength is 0.5. That's a pretty bad 0 meters. And our wave speed is 3 times 10 to the 8th. Now, this is actually our speed of light in a vacuum, which you'll learn soon enough that light is an electromagnetic wave, and a radio wave is a type of electromagnetic wave. So So this is a pretty common number. When we get to that section, they could just say a radio wave has a wavelength of 0.5 meters and not tell you the speed because the speed is something you're usually supposed to memorize. But if they don't tell it to you, that means it would be on your formula sheet. And then we want the frequency. So we know the frequency is supposed to be in hertz. Let me go ahead and do that so I don't forget. And then if you remember, our formula was wavelength times f. If you didn't remember, that's okay. You're allowed to have a formula sheet on your test. And we'll do V wavelength F. And so I'm going to solve for F. So then I'm going to do F is equal to wavelength over V, which is 0.5 over 3 times 10 to the 8th. Now, something that I've noticed that you guys are doing, if you are dividing by an exponent, which is why I chose this problem as opposed to one of the others that I saw, the numbers are different. So I don't think you've got the exact same one. If you try and put all of this in the calculator at once without putting parentheses down here, you will get the wrong answer. That's just, you will get the wrong answer. So when I type this in the calculator, I like to go ahead and put parentheses in the top and parentheses in the bottom. It takes like 2 seconds more to do that, but it, it ensures I get the right answer. Because, who wants to do all this work to do these problems and then not get the right answer, right? I feel like it's just a waste of your time. Okay, so I got a number with a lot of zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Which makes sense. Okay, so I got F equals 0.0000 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this is what I got. Now, you can leave it like that, or you can write 1.67 times 10 to the negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 10 to the negative 9. If I think about that, that does make sense because we've got this huge number on the bottom, right? That's like 3 million, 30 million, something like that. And this small number on the top. So it makes sense if we've got a really big number on the bottom that we're going to get a really small number. So again, all this work, 1 point. The answer, 1 point. Okay, so make sure you show your work. Okay, here's another one. Let's see. We have a wave speed of 5 meters per second and a period of 10 seconds. Okay, and then we want the wavelength. And that's going to be in meters. Okay, so our formula is V equals wavelength over a period. And so if I want to solve for wavelength, I'm going to put it in the triangle. Thing hates drawing V's. And wavelength is what I want. So I'm going to have wavelength equals V times T. So I'm going to have 5 times 10, and I'm going to get 50. Okay, what do they call this in your videos? Plug and chug? Isn't that what that lady says? So again, 1 point, 1 point. Okay, so make sure you show your work with the units. Okay, I feel like I'm saying this over and over, but, well, I am. But I want to make sure you guys get it right.